Hello everyone, thanks for joining us. We're going to wait a couple of minutes for some other members to join us and then we'll get started shortly. Welcome everyone, my name is Kate Beach. I'm the Professional Research Officer here at the QNMU. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get started and we're very pleased today to introduce you to our monthly Toolbox Talks webinars. Our short webinar is intended to provide you with some really interesting and useful content that contributes to your CPD. So if you stay online for the whole hour, you'll get 1 hour's worth of CPD. And yes, we can tell your names are listed here, so we know who stayed to the end. So today our expert speaker is a good friend of mine, Samantha Woodhouse, and today she'll be presenting about building a learning circle, survival skills for the healthcare arena. So Sam has a Master's of Science and is a nurse educator who began her career 25 years ago. She doesn't look that old. Back in the UK. Community aged care and the NHS is where she learnt and developed the art of nursing along with her passion for caring for older persons. As one of the first university trained students, Sam quickly found her place in medical nursing, acute stroke care and emergency medicine and the care of the older person. Complex specialties that also build resilience and carried her through many roles in the ever-changing face of the NHS. Her roles included Clinical Matron, Practice Development and Innovation Lead, and Nurse Educator. So I'm going to hand over to Sam now to get started. What we will do is wait for questions to the very end, and for you to ask a question, you won't be able to verbally ask. You'll need to use a typing box in the right-hand corner of your screen to type your questions. I'll read them out on this end, and then Sam, and we have some members of our learning circle here, may be able to help answer some of them for you. So over to you, Sam. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Kate. Hi, everybody. My name's Sam Woodhouse, as Kate said, and I'm a nurse educator by day and a circle sister by night. I've come here today to talk to you about building a learning circle. I'm going to talk about the development of our learning circle, of which I was a member, or rather than a member, as I mentioned, I'd rather call it being a circle sister. I'm going to talk a little about why our learning circle was born, its structure and evolution, the unexpected benefits, and the natural process that brought it to a close. The main intention of this presentation for you all is hopefully to demonstrate how easy it is to develop a learning circle and to share with you all the benefits of being a member of a learning circle or a circle sister. With me this evening are fellow circle sisters, and we will be happy to answer your questions at the end. One of the biggest, yet perhaps underrated factors in the maintenance of emotional health and well-being in our workplace environment of healthcare. As we may know, work-related stress can impact poorly on our mental health and on our physical health also. We are all living in an age where we can access information all of the time about anything we can dream of, and yet taking action to improve our situation, our mental health, our workplace environment can still remain an illusion at times, a wish to improve rather than a must-do to improve our situation. It might be useful for us just to take a moment to expand on emotional well-being, the needs of what they are. The personal development coach and motivational speaker Anthony Robbins talks about the 6 core human needs required for balanced emotional health: certainty, uncertainty, significance, love, growth, and contribution. The first 2 of the 6 core needs, certainty and in parallel uncertainty. Certainty is the need for safety, security, stability, comfort, order, predictability, control and consistency. Uncertainty is the need for variety, surprise, challenges, excitement, difference, chaos, adventure, change and novelty. These 2 core human needs work with each other as a paradox. If there's an imbalance in one of the 2, for example uncertainty, you might feel bored and crave adventure. Paradoxically, if there's an imbalance In uncertainty, too much variety might make you feel overwhelmed and crave a calm, stable environment. The next two core needs, as described by Anthony Robbins, are significance and love. Significance is the need to have a meaning, feel special, pride, feel needed, feel wanted, a sense of importance, and worthy of love. Love and connection is the need for communication, to feel unified, to feel approved, and attachment, to feel connected with, intimate and loved by, and other human beings core at the centre of that. Significance and love, our connections, are also paradoxes. And if you spend too much time gaining significance, you may also have trouble finding deep, intimate relationships that thrive on love. The final two needs are defined as the need for the spirit and provide the structure for fulfillment and happiness. The need of the spirit are described by Robbins as growth and contribution. And growth is the need for constant emotional, intellectual, and spiritual development. And finally, according to Robbins, contribution is the need to give beyond ourselves, to be giving, to care, to protect, and the need to support or support others. So emotional well-being and health is critical, particularly in our role in healthcare. So our circle story begins in a healthcare environment that was challenging. We were in a landscape of healthcare that had very grey, cloudy days, very storm, rain-filled days, an increasing number of barren, resource-restricted days. You could often hear people in teams, quietly in corridors, in meetings, discussing how challenging it felt, how unhelpful, how unsure, how unsafe. Leaders in the organisation could be described as demonstrating leadership styles that perhaps occasionally brought some anxiety, uncertainty, and too much variation in expectation. A feeling of unrealistic demands being made, which often led to difficult conversations, a lack of care, love, or attention. The lack of the feeling that a positive contribution was even possible led some to question their own individual ability, skills, and competence. Elements of negative leadership could be seen. These included an unwillingness to listen to feedback or engage in conversation, apparent excessive self-promotion at times, apparent lack of moral philosophy or accountability. Words that have deep-seated fear attached were often whispered in corners, and questions such as bullying. This heightened state of emotional being can often lead us to feel overwhelmed and, of course, far too busy. The never-ending requirement of a day left little time to have any decompression opportunity beyond the hushed corridor conversations. As described by Jean Kim, the eminent workplace culture psychologist, oftentimes leadership is one of the most important factors in setting the tone for a workplace's emotional culture. The emotional elements I've described were one key factor in the development of our learning circle, perhaps the main key factor. Another, though, was concern around moral distress and professional culpability. Jameson conceptualized moral distress in 2012, describing it as arising when an individual knows the right thing to do, but institutional constraints make it nearly impossible to pursue the right course of action. This is often the unspoken world of healthcare and nursing, and I've seen it maybe around the world. In 2007, Rosemary Bryant wrote an intriguing paper focusing on professional culpability in relation to the systems or people approach in relation to adverse events. Bryant believed that the locus of concern had moved to the environment in which adverse events took place, and the focus of the apportionment of blame had shifted away from the individual to the systems in the healthcare arena. The healthcare environment was increasingly concerning. Professional culpability and moral distress were themes that were shining through in those corridor conversations and hushed, supportive meetings that I mentioned earlier. Anxiety was high, and in particular fear of a developing culture where dictated expectations had taken away the voice of many excellent leaders, where fear of raising your head above the parapet was a reality. In the bigger healthcare arena, a review of professional practice standards was happening, and they were soon to be published, which also gave us a strong platform that we all knew would encompass the code of ethics and professional conduct, competency standards and practice, the decision-making framework. Several driven individuals concluded that to develop and grow in this difficult environment, we needed increased resilience and a safe place to learn to survive. We had a passion to succeed and enough experience to know how and to know that we can make it through. We were going to make it through. We just needed a little bit more. So that was the background. Now to explain how it all began. Firstly, please see the word map on the slide here. This is reflective of what we were seeking at the time. So what to do? How could we support each other and strengthen the skills we needed? The two founding fathers, or mothers in our case, of our learning circle were instrumental in bringing together our group. Their own skills and strengths in leadership, in excellence in the provision of nursing care, and passion for keeping the patient at the centre of everything we do were pivotal attributes that led us all being equally as keen, driven and passionate about the benefits of a learning circle. One of our founding mothers was moving on to pastures new and had received several requests for professional coaching and supervision. This brought about the idea of a shared learning approach. Initially, a few individuals gathered and worked through ideas, writing them up on whiteboards, brainstorming and developing core elements of what we needed from a learning circle. It was decided that we needed a platform for mutual respect, collective support and learning. And the Staying Strong Network Learning Circle was born. A few words to expand for you all on what is a learning circle, to assist you in deciding where this might be useful for you. Margaret Reel explained in 2013 that a learning circle is a model for collaboration with distributed leadership around the creation of a shared product. The shared product in our case was resilience and knowledge expansion. A small number of participants collaborate on a set theme or linked project for a specific period of time to gain deeper knowledge and shared learning. A learning circle is a structure for collaboration and is a combination of common principles used in group-led process models or committees of work models. The group's aim and intention of a learning circle is agreed by all members of the group. We developed terms of reference that we all had input into and the development of which we all agreed. I'll explain the terms of reference in the next slide. Most importantly, everybody understood their role in the learning circle. It was key to the success of the learning circle. We all had equal influence and input, and as Reel suggested, individual ownership and group responsibility in this way is critical to the development and maintenance of a learning circle. Circles are participant-led, which reduces the need for outside management and increases the individual ownership and group responsibility. A learning circle is a combined model of shared learning by each participant agreeing to be the leader of a group process, which helps develop the ideas of the overall learning. In our learning circle, we also took times in the not very exciting stuff. The minutes taking, the typing, the agenda setting, most importantly, the organising of the cakes and yummies. That wasn't boring. Dull as they were often also really recognised as important elements of the learning circle. It maintained structure and gave a framework to the circle. As I mentioned previously, one of the first things we needed to do as a group was to develop the terms of reference for the Staying Strong Network Learning Circle. Our terms of reference address the following points. Why a learning circle? The Stay Strong Network allowed learners from various levels of professions whom were interested in health leadership to come together to learn how they could play a key role in helping to support one another and develop each other through collaboration and shared learning opportunities. The Stay Strong Network provided an open forum where participants could talk openly and in strict confidence about related issues, learning from peers, leaders and experts, as well as from practice and best practice in order to grow from the impact of their leadership skills and styles on the healthcare sector. The terms of reference also stated a key agreed fact, that health leadership has active relationships with all levels of healthcare. The learning circle is a dynamic process that brings together leaders from the health sector to collectively create a vision and deliver actions necessary to develop and sustain quality leaders in healthcare. Learning together. Terms of reference also outline the experience of other learning circles in health leadership and how they've been diverse leaders learn together. They not only better understand each other, but also can create new knowledge and broaden their own clinical practice. Membership. The Stay Strong network was open to representatives from various levels of a group of people currently working within the healthcare sector, involved in leadership at any level. Benefits of participation were outlined in the terms of reference as offering participants the opportunity to be involved in a network of like-minded professionals interested in better understanding health leadership, the issues that leaders face in today's healthcare setting, and methods to build and maintain resilience into the future. To have access to experts in the field of healthcare leadership and change, to have access to a neutral forum where ideas and experiences can be exchanged openly and confidentially, to talk with one another and learn together about challenges and about what works in collaborating for change, to have the opportunity to learn together about best practice in forming new high-impact relationships between and amongst healthcare sectors and leaders. Agreed points of discussion. The scope of the discussions were dependent on the activities, accomplishments and interests of the Stay Strong network members. And in addition to covering specific on-the-ground topics, topics explored included staying resilient and positively leading and participating in change, the do's and do nots of managing difficult conversations, colleagues and environment, leadership and mentorship for now and into the future, establishing innovative models of care and developing business cases, implementation plans and evaluation frameworks. How we envisage the circle running. The Stay Strong Network Learning Circle met every 8 weeks at a pre-booked location for a duration of about 3 hours, facilitating interrelated opportunities for participation. Guest speakers were organised and at every second meeting, or as requested or available. And the Learning Circle would suit up to 7 people. Just to expand slightly on the fundamental principles of a learning circle, as with our learning circle, diversity in participants is the first principle, and it's the exciting unknown. The more diverse participants that you have, the more depth and diversity to discussion. Our learning circle included individuals with a variety of roles in nursing, management, and accountancy. A learning circle isn't about bringing together people who are all doing the same thing or have the same role. One brilliant element of a learning circle is the diversity of perspectives and sharing of a different expertise. Widely varying perspectives is helpful when you're thinking about an issue or thinking about a problem in a different setting or in a different team. They can demonstrate that we all look at a problem slightly differently and yet can come to an agreement or solution in a very positive way because of those different skills, because of those different knowledge and approaches. Models of leadership are shifting today. Traditional leadership styles may include autocratic, transactional, transformational leaders who give direction, who are super experts and delegate tasks. These are styles of leadership that are not suitable in a learning circle necessarily. Distributed leadership is an effective style that often leads to a circle's success. Distributed leadership is best explained by appreciating the shift in learning leadership models, away from the sole teacher towards diverse groups of individuals. We can liken this leadership model shift to television or model-based leaders or movie-based leaders, such as Sherlock Holmes or Perry Mason has now been replaced by CSI team. Dr. Kildare has been replaced by Grey's Anatomy. Superman or individual superheroes replaced by Guardians of the Galaxy. There are now cross-generational, cross-gender, multiracial groups that work together with mentors and novices who have different talents and skills. This is distributed leadership and has many benefits for learning. Distributed leadership has a focus on actions rather than process and structures. It is the design of a reflective process to scaffold action through cycles of change as new issues and ideas emerge. The Learning Circle became a platform of recognising the hybrid nature of distributed leadership that values working alongside rather than replacing with a formal leader. This concept is explained well in Malaysian culture. In Malaysia, there's a word for teacher, that is cikgu. It's much more than a person who gives you knowledge and information. It is a revered role. It is a huge achievement if you are called a cikgu in Malaysia, because it focuses the leadership on the key elements of being a person who focuses solely on supporting another to be the very best they can be, on developing other human beings beside you. This culture is not manager-centric or subordinate-centric. It's relationship-centric. It's about the community, about working out how I can help these people to be the best they can be, and therefore we collectively can be the best we can be. Better at who they are. It's not about the content, it's about the learning process of figuring out what we need to learn. We don't give each other the opportunity to learn about situations that we are in. People don't work alone in healthcare. We work in teams to problem solve, to find answers, which can be complex and affect individuals' lives. The process of distributed leadership supports equal voices and equal time to be heard, and recognises the power of groups working together, supporting each other, demonstrating care for each other, and care about making a person be the best they can be. This approach resonated perfectly in our Stay Strong Network Learning Circle. In a learning circle, knowledge building is determined by the agreed topics and the dialogue that follows. Knowledge building dialogue was the bedrock of our learning circle. Conversation that was productive, education that was focused in discussion, and in the keeping it real focus, action learning occurred. We discussed our reality, commented on each other's views, suggestions and ideas, and felt safe to give our own views, which was also supported by our mutual care and respect. Developing knowledge, building conversation or dialogue was the intention and was included in our terms of reference. We all agreed that expert speakers would be useful, interesting, and enlighten us with their different perspectives. We had guest speakers that included a director of nursing from the office of the chief nurse, who had a wonderful ability to tell us a story of leadership. He described his own career journey and how he coped on rainy days and in stormy seasons. He talked about how to have a difficult conversation that was real and achievable, no matter how scary the landscape may appear. Another guest speaker demonstrated leadership and mentorship in a way that resonated with us all, using a box of matches and a wall. I'll leave that to your imagination. It was very useful in terms of seeing things from different perspectives. Another guest speaker from a financial background was incredibly useful from a non-financial background and helped us to make sense of why we had some rain clouds in our storm. And finally, we welcomed a guest speaker whose role was the lead psychologist and whose talk on flourishing in the workplace, self-care, and the importance of looking after our own mental health was incredibly useful and supportive. The topics chosen were all agreed by the group at the previous meetings and during each circle. We would also discuss a topic using mediums such as journal articles and research papers, and these included a focus on value-based healthcare, managing in a leaderless team. We were in awe of futuristic community nursing-led teams in Europe. We read about the ultimate skills of the successful manager, healthcare financial management, and why mindfulness is a superpower. Expanding our knowledge in a reality-based conversation, the learning happened in this discussion and the support and in the thinking phases. Aspects of the learning circle that we perhaps didn't expect initially, yet would become fundamental as we moved forward, was the joy of it all. We smiled often, we laughed often, and we relished the safe learning, the opportunity of safe, supported development, and as a natural progression, trust and respect strengthened within the circle. I hope you can see the fun and love in the photos on the slide. Facebook was our saviour. Minute taking, agenda setting, minutes distribution, the dull stuff, was originally task completed using emails. However, this proved difficult at times when members of the circle were away from work, on leave for example, or if it wasn't habitual to check your home emails daily, maybe things were missed. The answer to this was the development of our Facebook group. A closed group with no public aspect was critical to maintain the safety and trust we had developed. The Facebook group allowed us to post agendas, manage meeting times, meeting minutes, and post the articles and journals that we would discuss. The Facebook group was a cornerstone to our learning circle success. Critical learning occurred using very important quizzes that we shared and completed via the Facebook group, and these included which Game of Thrones character best describes your leadership style. Are you more Jon Snow or Daenerys, Mother of Dragons? Critical learning for us all. Our Facebook group is still alive and well, and we keep in touch. We post from time to time and have strength in knowing we are all still there. During the life of our learning circle, we shared Christmas social events. We cared for each other when times were tough. We had 2 babies, and we importantly all kept moving forward. Our circle has come to a natural end, as all learning circles do. We morphed into a less formal meeting group to a more social group. And as I mentioned, we use the Facebook page as a need to get together as circle sisters. We occasionally put out the bugle call to each other to top up our cup of resilience. This picture was taken at our final circle. It's a great image that shows a happy, resilient group of healthcare professionals and our awesome circle supporter, Oscar, a couple of gorgeous dogs, and a Christmas tree. This is the online website that has YouTube videos, outlines of every different type of learning circle, and useful information for those of you that are considering developing a learning circle. Development of this website is the author I mentioned earlier, Margaret Reel. She's a lecturer and psychologist at Pepperdine University in the USA and is very passionate about collaborative knowledge building. If you're interested in building a learning circle, this is a really easy and great resource. Thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. We have with us, I'm very pleased to say, other circle sisters in the room, so we can all join in and answer your questions. Thank you.
Well done. We'll give you a little round of applause here. Well done, Sam, and thank you very much. A really informative session about some real life needs, and I think reflective of a group of people who were desperate to join together and learn together in a positive framework. So we do have times for questions now, so if you have any questions, the top right hand corner of your screens will allow those questions to be entered in, and I will read them out here on our end and allow the group here to answer. So here we have, we've got Mandy, our tech support person, but we also have lovely Sue, who was a member of the group, and on the other side of the screen we have Sam and Mel. Mel was another member of our Learning Circle group, and I noticed that we've got some of the Learning Circle folk online as well. Donna is online. I think that's just Donna. Oh, Sam's online as well, Sam Squires. So we've got a few people around. So if you've got your questions, good time to ask them is now. Oh, we have got a great question coming through. What approval was required to use Facebook? Sam, do you want to answer that?
I don't think there was any approval. We just had to have a group conversation and each of us be happy that we were going to do that. It was a closed group. It remained a closed group and isn't even now. One of our group circle sisters is the administrator of the group, so allowing you in and out of that closed group is very closely monitored, and it is literally just a closed Facebook group that anybody can start and administer.
I think it's just mindful to think about the social media policies that do exist in our lives. So obviously we were always mindful of the NMBA's social media policies, as well as our own local social media policies where we worked. We all worked in different areas. So obviously the group was set up to be respectful, and we kept the group quite in a positive framework. So what we did have online did meet all the requirements of social media policies of people that we were working with. I've just got another question here from Tanya. Just wondering how often you met face to face.
So it was about every 8 weeks, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. Every 8 weeks. We were fortunate enough to have a central point to meet. We used the resource of a local library where they had a brilliant room that was available for anybody, any member of the public to hire. It had IT support, a little kitchen where we could make cups of tea and coffee. We brought all of that with us. But it was a really great central resource to use public libraries. So that's another option for other people to take it outside of the workplace and to have somewhere central to visit.
I actually think it was better being outside of the workplace because it was totally neutral territory. So it was, yeah, I think it was a positive.
Yeah, I agree.
And it was free.
It was,
and it had better amenities and technology than we ever expected.
Absolutely, it's brilliant.
The first session was in somebody's home, and we realised that actually wasn't going to be sustainable. So we looked out to where we could actually all meet, and community groups can join the library and book rooms free of charge, and because it was a professional development group, we fitted into that brief very well, and it was very convenient. Some libraries are open after hours, 24 hours, so you just do the booking and you make arrangements to collect the swipe card and then return it. So it was really convenient. It didn't have to be within, 9 to 5.
No, and we didn't.
No.
Because we all work for a living.
6 till 9, yeah, absolutely. 6 in the evening till 9 at night. Sometimes 9:30 or 10.
Yeah. All right, I've got another question here. We use clinical supervision, but because it was management directed, it was not as well received. Was it in work time?
No. This was a professional development in our own time. So this was actually something that we agreed to that was outside of the workspace.
And I think it was a little bit of, we looked at it as not a chore, but as a gift to ourselves, a little bit of time to pay ourselves back for a lot of the giving that we did in all our individual roles in the workplace. So it was never deemed a chore. Obviously not everyone could always meet at every meeting. That's why the Facebook page was there. But we also did some teleconferencing via the old iPhone. So we were very resourceful at times.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Don't be shy. We've got a bit of time up our sleeves. Here we go. To the end of that question, what would you see as the benefits of the learning circle model over clinical supervision?
I think one of the big ones is that it was a mutual discussion. It was always a mutual thing. So there was never any hierarchical concerns from anybody. There was a mutual agreement around the confidentiality and what happened in the circle and was spoken about in the circle. Really, it stayed in the circle. It didn't go. The point was that it was the safe environment for us to disclose things and to discuss things and to really break things down so that we could actually get to a point that we could use that and move forward. So I think that having it in a mutual time, in a mutual space, without any hierarchy was really useful.
And I don't think it replaced clinical supervision from the workplace. It was certainly a professional development activity that we chose to be engaged in. It wasn't mandatory. People still continue to have clinical supervision. I think it's quite different from a learning circle. It was more like professional supervision, but it's actually, a learning circle is quite different, I think, if you look at the definitions.
Absolutely. I think the clinical supervision, maybe the only comparison was the coaching, the supportive conversation, the safeness of the conversation, and the trust that developed and became stronger and stronger within the group. Those are probably the similar core elements, but absolutely it's very different than clinical supervision. I don't think one supersedes another.
I think for us it was convenient for us to have that environment which was a little less formal, which, you know, clinical supervision does have a little bit of a formal relationship associated with it. We had quite, and I think, Mel, you mentioned it before, the success of our learning circle was based on the freedom to bring ourselves fully to the table in all in all our disarray at times, and to know that we had the confidence of our group, that we had people within our group that would provide those alternative views and get us to think maybe a little differently about the situation we were in. And I think it's important maybe to note that, I mean, the four of us sitting here are nurses, but we didn't always have just nurses. So there was a business manager in the fold, and the business manager, I know that sounds strange, but the business manager joined us because she wanted to gain a better understanding of nursing leadership, and she was using that as a conduit for her learning, but we also received a lot of information from her in terms of her financial background and her thoughts in terms of budgets and a whole range of things that really affect what we do day in and day out. So we did broaden our group. It wasn't just nursing centric. Our guest speakers weren't always nursing centric. We looked outside of our circle, as Sue mentioned, to be able to expand our views and our thoughts beyond our own. So it's always a good idea to look a little bit left and right when you're out there in a learning circle. And we were pleasantly surprised when we did approach people to come and speak at our learning circle. We were never knocked back. People were very willing. They were actually engaged and quite excited about the ability to come into something that was less formal and to talk to a smaller group of people, whether it be by again, a teleconference, or whether it was in person. So don't think that it's impossible to get people to come and speak with you. It was actually quite easy for us to find the time. All right, we've got a couple more questions online. As you had capped numbers, if a new staff member started and wanted to join in, did someone have to leave the group to add someone else?
Wasn't technically capped.
No.
So it was a little bit fluid. We had some new people come in. We had some invitations for some people to come in. That wasn't necessarily accepted, but it was mutual decision making. So if there was a new person who was interested, we would bring that to the group. We would sort of have a look at the fit, and then we would go from there.
Absolutely.
Not everybody can turn up at the one time, so it actually never got to the point where we were overflowing. It was consistently about 7 to 8 people, irrespective of how many people were in the circle at the time.
And as the numbers weren't capped, absolutely, I think I was certainly somebody who got quite excited about wanting to bring people along. But absolutely, it's really important to be mindful of your circle, as Mel said, the dynamic, and being sure that anybody that's coming into that is a good fit, because it takes a lot to build that mutual trust and respect, that then becomes second nature. And of course, that's imbalanced slightly when somebody new might start into the learning circle. So it's always good to be mindful of that.
Another question online. Was group size limited to 7? So again, another question around the group sizes. Did anyone else want to expand on that? I think Mel covered that.
I think it's just really important to look at the dynamics. So in our group in particular, Kate's mentioned that we had the business manager. I think from her bringing her perspective into the group was a phenomenal addition. We had nursing leaders who have done extraordinary roles, right down to people who were RNs on the floor. So there was no inclusion exclusion from that point of view. It wasn't everybody was a don or everybody was, it was just the shared vision of the learning circle more than, necessarily numbers or positions.
And to add to that as well, I think that's a brilliant point, because it was strengthened by that diversity and the way that you can see an issue from a different perspective. It wasn't about that hierarchical approach. It was about the passion of nursing, the passion of healthcare, the passion to make things better was really more about what made us come together and what we could bring to the table. And absolutely, the accountancy and financial management was just fantastic.
I think another nice thing, though, that we realised is that sometimes in the nursing world, you can feel that the problems you have are only yours, are only shared by other nurses. But when we sat down and the conversation started to unwind, we actually realised that this colleague of ours, this business manager, was experiencing the same issues within the organisation, just from a different position within the organisation. So while that was enlightening and refreshing. It also opened our eyes up to, well, for me personally, to considering the issues I was having as more broadly the issues of the organisation. Yeah. So again, just making the world a larger place instead of making it smaller.
But also making sure, again, from an organisational perspective, that we are really conscious of the care that we provide to the entire team, not just the nursing staff, because it's not just about our profession, it's about everybody that's part of that team.
Yeah,
absolutely. Got some more questions here. No more questions. Anyone else online with any other questions? Some are busy fingers typing away. Mel, would you like to add anything to Sam's very well? Can I address the wonderfulness of Sam again? The wonderfulness of capturing all of the aspects of our learning circle right from the beginning to the end. I don't know if I've ever have felt so proud. Well, and over here Stu helped as well. I don't know if I've ever felt so proud of the work that we did. I've always enjoyed it, and I have enjoyed the moments since. But it really was a great piece of work by everyone. So thank you, Sam and Sue, for capturing that. Mel, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I just think it was an incredible privilege to be part of that journey for everybody. I think it was, as Sam said, the environment initially was quite tumultuous that everybody had come from. So I think that it was a really good opportunity, not just about the resilience, but also that healing process that sometimes is necessary when things aren't going, let's say, 100% all of the time. So I think for me, a really huge part was the opportunity to be part of the healing process and moving forward. I think was really helpful for me professionally and personally.
I think it was a real cornerstone of building that resilience. Yeah. We had it, but when we came together, it really, helped us, put us back on the journey, and that's what resilience is all about. Yeah,
absolutely. And I echo Kate's thoughts when I was putting these things together. It really made me very proud to have been part of that learning circle, and it's just something that will stay with me forever. It really helped to build up that resilience that we all knew we had, but also to think we really did do something marvellous at a time that was pretty tricky.
And it wasn't difficult. It was actually just an idea that we watered and grew, and it came together seamlessly. It wasn't an effort. It actually just flowed really, really well.
It's easy to everybody to achieve this.
Yes.
I have another question online. Hi all. No question, but rather saying thank you for this seminar, and that's from Danielle. So thank you, Danielle. It was I'm going to say it was a pleasure, but really, I did very little. Sam did it all. All right. So any final thoughts from you, Sue, that you'd like to share with those online?
I could just encourage you, if you are having a difficult time, it's actually a really worthwhile investment to look at a learning circle, to get some like-minded peers together and colleagues and work through.
I think it's a great word, investment.
Yeah.
I think it's a sensational word.
Yeah. It's a wonderful investment.
Absolutely. Sam, any final words coming from you? I mean, you've talked a lot tonight, but you are the wealth of wisdom over there.
Just exactly echo Sue's words. I think it's so worth the time and effort. It's something that perhaps you won't be able to appreciate the benefits totally until you're involved in. And it's only afterwards, when we stand back and look at it, that we're all so proud of what we did, how we helped one another, and how easy it can be for you all to just come together collectively with like-minded individuals.
All right. So I'd like to thank everyone now for joining us in a very difficult time, 5 to 6. Obviously, people are transitioning to and from work, and there's children and a whole range of other things happening out there. But we'd like to say thank you to everyone. And I've just, here we go. And this is one from one of our circle dwellers. Hi, ladies. I wanted to also say thank you for letting me join the group for the short time I was with you. Amazing opportunity, and would encourage everyone to set a group up if you have the opportunity. And there's a little kiss at the end of that one, and that's from Sam Squire. So thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Sam.
Big wave to you. Thank you for saying that.
And thank you to all our other Circle sisters that
Yes,
are
who
here
aren't here
today,
today,
because we wouldn't have been able to achieve what we did without every single one of them.
Yeah, every single contribution. So on behalf of the QNMU, I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and a big thank you to Sam for donating her time today, coming in, and for again all our sister circle dwellers, but those who have turned up today as well, for coming in and sharing your views and your faces. Now it is a webinar that is being recorded, so we will store this and keep it in the QNMU archives, and you never know, in years to come we may be considered for Nobel Peace Prize. All right, and there's a thank you to all from Carolyn. So thank you, Carolyn. Thanks for joining us. We're going to say goodbye now, and if you do have any other comments or inquiries to make, you can contact me here at the QNMU. So you can go on the QNMU website and find out the contact details if you'd like any further information or have a question that you think of after we close off the session tonight. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Oh, hold them up. Thanks for preparing the webinar, Sam. Great job, from Tanya.
Thank you, Tanya.
All right, we are going to say goodbye now.
Bye.
Bye.